So my name is Trevor Wolf. I'm the co-founder of Delve.io. As of today, you could actually call us Delve because I think the .com guys went bust. So we now are Delve if it's easier for you. We're based out of South Africa. And just as a reminder, what we do is we help brands and agencies crowdsource feedback from creative and marketing professionals around the world. We built a panel about a few 100,000 of these professionals around the world. And our big inspiration was to help global brands produce locally relevant content or campaigns or strategies to not only incorporate and understand, but act on the nuances of markets in Africa, markets in Asia, markets in Latin America, where you usually get a campaign that's created in New York or London or Germany, the big idea, and then maybe a few tweaks at the end of the 30-second ad, and that's what gets launched in these countries. So we want to take advantage of that. And as startup founders, we took the systems approach to kind of analyzing what our opportunity was to help these brands and agencies produce locally relevant creative ideas. And so we looked at the inputs, process, and outputs of how a campaign or strategy or content is produced. And we kind of knew, because both my co-founder and I come from TNS and Kantar in the market research world, that there's a lot of innovation happening on the input side. So inputs being the trends, the existing data, the segmentation studies that you have to start a strategy, start a campaign, start off a content. Lots of innovation happening on shopper data and segmentation techniques, innovations in trackers and ethnographic techniques. And we also noticed that on the output side, lots of is happening on the copy testing front. Attribution modeling is getting better. The System 1, System 2 debates are taking place, and there's eye tracking alongside neuroscience. So we didn't think there was much room to innovate on those fronts. And coincidentally, both my co-founder and I met each other at a crowdsourced design firm. And so we got to spend hundreds and hundreds of hours in the design and brand building and campaign development process with the creative agencies, with the brand managers, with the insight managers, watching how an input, whether that was a very good idea, a very good insight, went through a bunch of people, a bunch of process, a bunch of feedback sessions, and ended up as a creative asset or creative strategy. And we saw a lot of mess. We saw a lot of politics and red tape and inefficiencies. We sat in on feedback sessions where people were dialing in conference calls with the goal of trying to get a decision. They look at their copy testing score, or their copy testing score, their concept scores, and make a decision on how to change the execution, kill it, or build on it. And we saw tons of inefficiencies there in the process. And so it doesn't matter how good of an input you have, how good of an insight you have. There are people and processes that impact the outcome of that. So our theory was, if we can guarantee a better output, a better creative ad, a better strategy by addressing the process, people would overlook people would be more interested in our process. So we talked about that at IIeX. Before we actually launched any products, we came to here in Atlanta in 2016 and talked about the difference between applying market research fundamentals to feedback process rather than just better tests. So we said, you go into a creative agency or marketing brand review, and you go to a feedback session. It's unmoderated. None of the feedback is collected or analyzed, saved for later uses. There's no one that's been a trained moderator. And so we made a call to the industry to say, hey, why don't you help this part of the process out by applying what you know from the market research background into the rest of your partners in your organization. And our first product we launched was specifically toward ad testing, and specifically at a point of the process where it gets there's a lot of tension and friction, which is agency or in-house creative team comes up with a few creative concepts. They're very rough. They're schematics, photomatics, scripts, audio recordings, and they present them to the wider team. And there's a lot of back and forth about the validity of qualitative research or focus groups that came up with any type of testing there. And the decision-making process gets delayed. The brand manager takes a long time to get any approval back to move forward, and it just sticks in delay. And there's a lot of tension there, both from the agency and brand side. So we said, what if we could take that decision-making process, the feedback process, and externalize it with external professionals? We'll package to you a report with people that aren't bound by any biases or politics in the process. We'll ask professionals on the ground, give you feedback in 5 days, and let you guys make a decision. And that was the first product we launched. We showed it to you guys in Amsterdam last year when we won. This is a team from South Africa. And and so this is what happened after we won IIeX. They say that when you start a startup, the first 10 clients are the most difficult, and you're begging for business, you're underpricing your projects, you're doing anything you can to get that pilot. We threw in a lot of consulting services to get people to try us for the first time. A lot of our projects looked off, once-off $5,000 one-country projects, and we hear from the client maybe 6 months after that. But after we had some credibility, some street cred, and the suitcase of cash that Greg and Jeff Krentz brought to South Africa for us. By the way, get a big check for the next year's winners. We'll sponsor that big check, by the way. And so it looks a lot different now. We're operating in 25 countries, not from a staffing perspective, from running projects using our scalable model, all from a team in South Africa, on 5 continents. Our project volume has gone up, so we're doing about 4 countries per project, which has been our aspiration all along, is to help one centralized brand team develop localized content or creative campaigns across the world. So we're kind of getting closer to achieving that. We stopped underpricing ourselves, so founders are the worst at selling their own products. They never value the true value of what they're delivering. And we moved to Atlanta. A lot of that came from Lenny, who's not here and who hasn't bought me coffee yet. So, but as a way to expand our sales presence, I moved here to Atlanta to take advantage of the local marketing technology scene here and speak to some clients. But the coolest thing, I think, overall was that we didn't have to go in our garage and keep building the products that we thought we should be building. Our clients started coming to us and saying, I like what you did on ad testing. What else can you do to expand your value proposition to other parts of the business? And that's where we got really creative, and a more cost-effective way of doing innovation from a startup perspective is doing it with clients that promise to back it with budget. So the first thing we launched was a competitive communications review. So where we take all of your competitors' communications and run it against our professional panel based on their experience. They reverse engineer the strategies, the communication techniques, the claims, the benefits that your competitors are doing. We do a qual analysis, deliver it to a report within 10 to 15 days. And again, this was a process that's supposed to be done by creative agencies, but because the process usually doesn't go that way, they never end up doing this for brands, and so we took advantage of that. Next thing we did was start sending professionals in-store around the world, in China, in Latin America, in Eastern Europe, Western Europe, and we basically had them, packaging specialists and retail specialists, go in-store, analyze what they're seeing on shelves, what the strategy, what the color blocking techniques were, reverse engineered competitors, as well as opportunities for our clients to do better on store. We started doing category trend analysis because these are creative professionals and marketing professionals. They're very good at seeing, spotting trends, if not setting them themselves. And we asked them to go and give us some background on what was happening in the past in children nutrition that drove today's current trends and what's going to be happening tomorrow. So it helped you from a strategic perspective, our clients from a strategic perspective, to start planning their brand plans around this. And it kept to our mission. So we turned around a 10-country study in about 7 days for the price you'd pay for a one-country creative test. And a big thing happened was we did a pivot. So when we spoke at IIeX last year, we were very big on the AI hype and automation, and we went to our clients and said, good news, we're going to reduce that 7-day turnaround time down to 3 days. We're going to give you a beautiful dashboard. Everything is going to be great. You're going to pay us a SaaS-based, a monthly subscription plan, and don't worry, you won't even have to talk to us anymore. And most of the clients said, that's not what we want. We actually want you more involved as a partner, come in person. But something you figured out was the way you talk to these professionals on the ground, the way you ask questions, get really rich information as a new source of data for us is really interesting. But hey, I'm Coca-Cola, or I'm Delta, or I'm Pepsi. I employ 70,000 professionals around the world. Can't you just build something for me to do internal feedback better? And so we, with a lot of our clients, original clients, built and launched a big team. Incorporates a lot of AI and all the language that you see around this conference, and allows anyone within an organization to become a market researcher. So addressing that problem that we noticed up front is people don't know how to ask powerful questions from their colleagues. They don't know how to analyze results. And so we built this platform for any brand team, any knowledge worker with any corporation to be able to get proper feedback, identify who in their company has the right skills, just like a panel management company would help you find consumers. Then take all that open text, run it through NLP, and spit you out a report within 24 hours. And so we built that alongside our colleagues, and I don't think we would have been able to do that without some credibility and a kind of a badge of approval from IIeX and Green Books. A few learnings, and this is not just about the market research industry. This is my experience in the startup world in general, and a lot of conversations with founders. There's a lot of founder support groups around the world to kind of commiserate and talk to each other about how bad our clients are, how good our clients are, how bad our investors are, how good our investors are. And one thing that we notice is that innovation theater, which is a term that I hope you guys will take away, happens more than innovation. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. Innovation theater helps publicly listed companies inspire confidence in their shareholders that they're going to be around tomorrow, helps technology-enabled brands promise that to their consumers that they're going to be their partner for the future going forward. It helps startups get in the door of big companies by dropping terms like AI, because it knows it gets us a better chance. So theater in general has its merits, and it's better than the stagnation dance, So innovation theater is better than stagnation dance. But you should distinguish the difference between the appearance of progress, innovation theater, and progress. For you guys at the client side, innovation theater looks like your C-suite, your CEOs flying to Silicon Valley, learning about singularity taking over the world, getting a tattoo of Elon Musk and coming back wearing a hoodie. That looks like innovation theater. For startups, it looks like getting an email with an invitation to do a Shark Tank-like pitch at a brand where you go there and you have someone from procurement, marketing, IT, HR, sales, and janitorial services. They're auditing the merits of your company and never getting any further in the progress, but you get a press release out of it from the company. So there's a lot that happens, and it's a waste of time on everyone's side, and that's a big finding for us. I've already mentioned this, but clients want partnerships, not dashboards. So our hypothesis that was proven wrong was we looked at the way consumer enterprise software in HR and accounting and finance is being developed, and it looks a lot more like Facebook and Tinder. It's a lot more better user interface, and a lot more people are willing to use software to automate or completely replace processes that they normally have done within their own workflows. But in the insights side, not so much. We found that our partners valued us coming in and presenting the same piece of research 15 times to different stakeholders within their organization, more than a self-login, a single secure self-login. And in the insights world, I think that enabling our partners to be partners to their internal stakeholders is more important than a new dashboard, a new login. We had to figure that out the hard way. The last thing is that I never appreciated the importance of pilots. Pilots are a way for startups to prove what they claim they can do. Pilots are a way for corporates to incorporate new innovations, to get the competitive edge, and to test what these startups say they can do as well. But the amount of times that we've been blocked after that insights professional, marketing professional has let us in the door, said, let's do a pilot, and here's the price. The amount of times we've been blocked by IT, procurement, legal, HR, and thrown 100-page SLA documents for a $5,000 study. Done IT audits on our panel for something that doesn't even go through their own internal systems. We had to get $1 million insurance, personally for the project. That cost us $5,000 to service a $5,000 project. But I've seen it work. So we're working with a lot of companies in Atlanta right now, and they've done a lot of interesting things around pre-approving startups with their legal departments, IT departments, procurement departments. And so they've gone to legal and said, hey, we're going to be looking for some new startups and some pilots next quarter, next year. Let's get that SLA down from a 50-page document down to a 5-page document right now. Let's set the parameters for what that 5-page document can cover. So maybe no PII data, dummy data. Let's go to procurement and say if it's under $10,000, let's get fast-track approval. Let's go to the stakeholders and the departments to say, let's take some risk. There could be a higher margin of failure on these projects, but let's go do that before we invite the startups in. if the startups prove themselves, then they can advance to the fun stuff of going through 100-page legal docs and all that. But right now, let's get the pilots done. And that starts the momentum on both sides, starts the willingness of the startup to be more flexible and accommodating of the corporate needs, but also starts the process of the internal champions that you need to happen once they see something that they like. And I have tons of ideas of how this is doing. We're launching 7 pilots next week with one company in Atlanta, and different departments all through the same process, and it'll be fast-tracked. Within 14 days, we'll get approval and move forward. And so I'm going to be at the booth later, so I'm happy to share ideas of how you guys can do that from a startup side or from a corporate side, or show you a big team or talk about anything else that we've been up to. And that's that.